Path of Exile 2, needless to say, absolutely amazing. The future of gaming, if you will.
Oh boy, all right. So, Path of Exile 2, the reviews are in. Good news is they're looking quite positive, with early impressions
Hell yeah.
confirming our suspicion that this could be the best ARPG of all time. Bad news, though, is that not everyone's happy review codes even exist, let alone that there are people out there already playing through the entire game. So,
Oh, those people are never gonna be happy. These are people who are gonna see someone do better than them in life, someone just getting a little bit lucky, and their whole day is ruined. These people are filth that lives to bring down others because they cannot bring themselves up. Their opinions, irrelevant.
let's talk about it. Earlier today, the first Path of Exile 2 review was released, coming from YouTuber Fextralife. In the 15-minute video, he said quite a few interesting things about the game. Here are some of the highlights. He refers to PoE 2 as the, quote, Dark Souls of ARPGs. We're never escaping this, right? Dark Souls will be with us forever. Now, mainly
I mean, this is honestly technically kind of almost true, even. Not the first stake, even, which is strange coming from the fact that it was said by Fextra. Path of Exile 2 is in no way Baby's first ARPG, okay? Baby's first ARPG should be Diablo 4, where nothing can kill you and then something magically always kills you, okay? Path of Exile 2 is a lot more complicated and challenging than that. We're gonna see what happens in the future, but for now, pretty challenging for most people, and that's the way it should be. No game should be designed for everyone. Something designed for everyone is something designed for people with mental disabilities. That's not a good design principle.
here he was referring to the fact that the game is quite challenging, with no difficulty options to pick from, and even playing through the campaign as it was quite difficult. Lots of challenging boss fights were there that he found quite rewarding to overcome, and that the game gave him a similar feeling in terms of its difficulty to the likes of Dark Souls or Elden Ring. He said that the maps are large,
Okay, that's still overkill, obviously. You just need to understand a lot of things. One of the main things if you're playing this game currently is don't be afraid to use your currency to enhance items, and you need to understand the best affixes, like always. Plus armor, plus evasion, plus HP, plus resistance is your basic bread and butter, and then literally everything until your build comes into fruition is just, hey, 5 to 60 lightning damage on an item, big, okay? Even if you're going like a pure physical build or something like that, hey, if that thing has 50 lightning damage on it, that's what you're gonna be using, okay? Small upgrades like this can actually, as far as I have seen, some people get even, blues with just good additive bonus damages and whatnot effects. It can honestly kind of trivialize the campaign to a huge degree.
estimating it takes a full hour to go from side to side. That's
Even though that's kind of rarer of a circumstance, but you get the point.
sounds crazy, but we'll see. He also mentions that there was just a great sense of discovery while playing, be it discovering new lore, unlocking new mechanics, finding new enemies and areas, etc. Now, one quote that I absolutely loved was that with the amount and variety of content, that it feels like 3 games rolled into one. Love to see it. The campaign, he estimates, was about 35 to 40 hours, but after that, there's of course loads of endgame, and he mentioned feeling like he just scratched the tiniest surface of what's on offer after spending 40 hours with it, potentially saying that this could be the all-time king of the genre. He also mentioned that it feels like there are limitless combinations of builds, that respecking is much easier than it has been in the past. He thought
That is good. A huge part about people. They're not. PoE originally is a great game, but it's not helpful to newcomers. The biggest problem that PoE has is the fact that it's really hard for new people to come in. There are legitimate stories about people to making it to like level 60, finishing literally their campaign and entering maps, and then they only discover that there's passive 3. How the fuck does that happen? Don't know, don't ask. But that's not a singular story. It's actually a recurring theme that somehow magically happens. Don't know. And other people just open up the passive skill tree, and they're like, "Holy, yeah, I'm not reading all of this," which true is a lot, honestly, to begin with, but it is rewarding.
Thought the dark theme and overall art direction was outstanding and clearly inspired by Diablo 2. He felt it was the most dynamic combat in any ARPG he's ever played, and Fextra Life has played quite a few. He also talked about things like the details on the skill effects and boss designs being some of the best he's seen in the industry. He was blown away by the amount of detail. He did play on controller for a bit and said that it feels like the game was designed for controller first. Interesting, saying that it plays even better.
I mean, everyone who plays it is going to use the keyboard to move. It is just such a great ad.
Than Diablo 4 did on a controller. Now, there were some negatives mentioned, including the fact that he saw a few bugs and got crashes during the review process, and also that maps felt a little empty in terms of the amount and frequency of events. Now, that said, he wrapped it all up by saying that he strongly believes PoE 2 will cement the studio as one of the all-time greats among the likes of FromSoft or Larian. Now, I would argue that GGG is
I like how this, by the way, conversation is not even question all-time greats. FromSoft, fucking Larian, okay? No one's talking about Bethesda, no one's talking about Blizzard, no one's talking about Ubisoft, God forbid. Oh, how the game is changing.
Is already there just with PoE 1, but that's besides the point. And you know what? All of this sounds great to me. I am so happy to hear that the game is turning out nicely. So what exactly is the problem then? Well, there's two main things happening here. One is that the review was posted way prior to Embargo, apparently nearly a week before it was supposed to come out. And number two is that everyone was under the impression that there would be no early access prior to the early access public launch, that there would be no early review copies of Path of Exile 2 prior to that December 6th release. Those weren't supposed to happen as far as everyone was concerned. So what exactly
wait, that's actually true, I guess.
exactly is going on here? Well, I will tell you right after this. Today's video is sponsored by Light of Moderum. This is
Oh my god, this is the Horizon Forbidden Dawn, but Aloy is not a disgusting man. Holy wow, now that is a sponsorship that we still skip.
early. At the time it went live, it was the only one out there, which had everyone speculating, are they the only outlet who got review codes? Now, no, as it turns out, they just posted far prior to the actual embargo. Now, after not too long, Fextra Life did take their video down.
Also, did IGN give this a 7 out of 10? Fucking IGN. I haven't seen it. I actually tried to find the IGN video, but man, 7 out of 10 for Path of Exile 2. I mean, it's IGN. Dragon Age Veilguard, 9 out of 10 masterpiece. Kill me.
It was self-removed, and as of this recording, it is no longer available for viewing. You cannot go check the review yourself. Now, everyone was quick to blame them for breaking embargo because, of course, right, this is not a good thing. You shouldn't be doing it. But apparently the fault lies with the developer, Grinding Gear Games. They said themselves on Twitter, unfortunately, there was a miscommunication with Fextra Life that resulted in a video being posted early. This was a mistake on our end and is in no way on Fextra Life. Now, I was seeing some speculation that the developer might just be falling on the sword here, that they are lying about it being their fault so as to save Fextra
hard to say. I don't know.
Life from getting hate. The argument that I've seen being, if it was GGG's fault and there was a miscommunication, why didn't any of the other outlets break embargo? Like, why was it only Fextra Life who broke embargo? They all got the same embargo timing, right? And that sounds simple, right? But surprise, things are rarely as simple as they sound. As someone who has done quite a few reviews and previews,
yeah, I mean, this is depending on your communication. It is actually not that hard to believe, though I am not defending Fextra Life, obviously. But, you can ask a question, and the question can be, of specific sort, even by accident, and then the answer can, allude or, be misinterpreted, which is something that can happen.
previews in the past that come with embargoes, I can tell you the process looks different all the time, and it can often be quite a bit messy. So sometimes you get all of the info, the embargo timing, basic details on the game, the installation and review guides, all of it comes nicely in a package in a pre-made PDF. Everyone gets the same PDF with all the same info. Easy, right? Like no confusion to be had. Sometimes that happens. Other times, it's just a literal email from some contact at the company or in relation to the company that says, hey, here is the game code. Embargo lifts at such and such a time on such and such a day. Let us know if you have any questions.
And then the embargo date changes or something.
And that's it. It's literally just an email that somebody sent with a couple of lines of info. And many times this will be like a back and forth conversation with them, giving you the code and then saying embargo comes later and then sending the embargo. And this process can and does vary wildly from game to game, from review and preview to review and preview. You also have to keep in mind that a lot of times this process is handled by a third party. So it's not even a media contact or someone who actually works at GGG who is handing out this information. Many times developers will hire.
Dude, summoning honestly looks wild, but I just want to point this out, as many have. If you're gonna play Path of Exile 2 and the first thing you do is play a ranger, what the hell is wrong with you? What have you done with your life?
Hire agencies to do all of the back and forth communication for pre-launch reviews. The point is, it is very possible that yes, somebody actually made a mistake when sharing the review.
By the way, they listen to so much stuff. GGG is amazing for listening to a lot of stuff, because when we first saw the Path of Exile 2, I almost called it Diablo 2 because that's how good it is. There was a lot of things. The flasks, the fact that the flasks didn't actually recharge when you killed normal mobs, only on boss mobs. They changed that because that was hated. The fact that some skills were just obscenely long to cast. I instantaneously said, yeah, this needs to change, because no one is gonna wait 2 seconds to cast a skill and then jump back because of that skill. That is just not gonna happen.
Info with Fextralife. And this isn't me trying to build a case to defend them. I'm just letting people know this stuff can often be like way more casual and messy than you would assume. It is absolutely possible that somebody just screwed up. They gave them the wrong day. They accidentally typed the wrong time zone. They didn't even include a time zone. Mistakes like this happen somewhat frequently. In fact, I can tell you, I have been sent wrong embargo information on numerous occasions. And I'm not talking like just once or twice. It's happened several times over this past year alone. Now, fortunately, those were all corrected prior to me posting, either because I decided to double check to make sure that the information was accurate, or because they send a follow-up email that says, hey, we made a mistake. The embargo is actually at this specific time and day instead. Now, of course, I don't know exactly what happened in this particular situation. We're all just guessing, but I do believe Grinding Gear Games. Like, I don't think they're lying about this being their fault, because I've been a part of this process so much over the years that I can tell you mistakes are not uncommon. And frankly, I think it's ridiculous to think that the devs would be lying here. If there was no miscommunication, GGG could have just not mentioned the embargo break that happened, right? They took the video down, they could have just ignored it, but they made a whole big post about it, I think because it was their fault. There's really no sense in them lying to cover Fextralife's butt. When somebody breaks embargo purposefully, you know what happens? You get blacklisted and you don't get codes from that company ever again. The devs are not coming out lying to cover up somebody else's screw up. Like, I at least have never seen this happen. Maybe this is the first time, right? But anyways, that out of the way, this isn't even the biggest issue that people have right now. Like, this isn't the main reason people are upset that because Fextralife broke the embargo, right? The main reason that a lot of people are really upset right now is just the fact that pre-launch review codes are even happening. Many were under the impression that this wasn't going to be the case for Path of Exile 2, and that we would all be playing the early access version of the game for the first time.
All playing the early action. Yeah. Well, we kind of already did that.
Together on December 6th. So what's happening? Well, GGG addressed this as well in their tweet by saying, we've seen some speculation that some people might already have access to the early access version of Path of Exile 2. To clarify, some traditional games media have been given access to a review version of the game. Part of the stipulation that media were given is that this is for review purposes only. They may share their opinions of the game, but are not allowed to produce guide-style content from this version that would spoil the discovery of the game or post unedited playthroughs. They are not playing on the same servers as the early access version, so none of the progress will be kept. In addition, all of the content they produce is embargoed until the early access on December 6th, so no content is supposed to be posted until then. That's then when they said, sorry, we had a miscommunication with Fextra Life, it's not their fault, it's ours. And then they wrap up by saying, on release day, we want players to be able to make a more informed choice about if they would like to buy a key. We believe that allowing traditional games media access should be able to accomplish this without spoiling the game. Okay, so there you have it. They have sent out review codes to traditional games media.
Well, to be honest, like, did people not expect this to be happening? I thought the initial problem was that some people, specifically, like, you know, Twitch streamers or whatnot, got the keys early, but it doesn't seem like that's a thing. So,
This was done with the caveat that they couldn't post any guides or full walkthroughs. It was on entirely separate servers, so no progress will carry over, and the embargo is set to lift on December 6th when the game officially launches into early access. Now, besides the fact that now that we know the embargo is for December 6th, that means whatever miscommunication may have happened with Fextra Life was hilariously massive. Like, they gave an embargo timing that was 6 days wrong. Excuse me? I don't know how that happens, but like I said, it's a sloppy process. There is miscommunication. People are misinformed. Sometimes the people relaying the information, the in-betweens, the agencies that are working with the developer and publisher and sharing the information and dealing with all the reviewers, sending out codes and all that. Sometimes somebody just doesn't know everything, or they get something wrong, or they type something wrong. Like, that does happen. But anyways, that aside, people are just upset at the fact that anybody is playing the game prior to its full release. Why? Well,
because everyone wants to play it. That's kind of the thing. Except me. I'm completely fine not playing it, because Path of Exile 2 is 100% going to be a game I'm going to play for years to fucking come. So, I'm going to play it when I want to, which is probably going to be like a day or two after.
There's a few very particular reasons. For starters, people just have an issue with Fextra Life in general, them getting access, because mainly, besides people who just don't like Fextra Life for a variety of reasons, many of which I think are justified. I don't have a personal grudge against the guy or the channel, but I understand why some people don't like him, for the embedded Twitch view boosting that he does, for some of where they're getting their guide informations, for the quality of their guides, you know, whatever. He's not what many consider traditional games media, because they do run a wiki, whatever you think of.
Well, the Extra Life is not something that a lot of gamers consider reliable sources and good characters.
That wiki's quality, they do have a wiki with guides and information, and it even appears like they may have already started populating their wiki with info that was acquired during the review, which I wouldn't be too surprised if they have at least got that process going. If they've truly played the game for 40 hours and they're going to have a wiki on PoE2, they do have a wiki on PoE2, they're at least going to start pre-filling out that information, even if it's embargoed for a week after launch, although it looks like some of that went live and then they took it down. But anyways, the point is, someone like Fextra Life isn't really just traditional games media, because they have a wiki and they do post guides, and this makes it counter to GGG's stated philosophy of not wanting to spoil the discovery phase of the game prior to launch, or just not.
Yeah, that's like a big thing that GGG was talking about, the fact that they don't want really people to just, you know, spoil everything, that everything is already known before it launches. That's one thing that a lot of people hate about Blizzard, especially World of Warcraft, that, oh, new patch launches. Well, everyone already knows 2 months before exactly everything that's changing.
Wanted to spoil it in general. If a review outlet like IGN or YouTubers, someone like SkillUp, if they get a review, we know it's going to be like a focused on the base game and sort of a one-off thing. Like, there is little to no risk of outlets like that, of people like that, of channels like that, spoiling the experience and ruining the discovery of the game, especially for the late game and end game content. Like, it's not going to happen. But that brings us to the other thing that's causing complaints here. It's that players don't want the game solved prior to release. And this is a valid concern. I totally understand it. It's one that was widely expressed during the launch of Diablo 4, because with that game, myself and many others did have access to D4 prior to it coming out. And specifically, the hardcore sweats of the crowd, the super blasters, they basically had the whole game figured out before it launched, like with leveling and endgame class build guides, with boss fighting tactics, with farming routes, so on and so on. I think especially for a genre like ARPGs, there's a lot of people who want to feel like they are part of that discovery phase all together as a community at the same time, and that people who aren't YouTubers or aren't guide makers also have a chance to come up with some of those great builds. Like there's people who have find value in that, so that's something that gets taken away when people have access to the game 2 to 3 weeks prior to launch, and especially people who are the type that are going to be figuring all this stuff out. So yeah, the concern is more so that Fextra Life running a wiki and posting guides, he isn't quite the same as, again, like an IGN or a YouTube reviewer like SkillUp who gets a review code, because they're not going to be posting endgame build guides, right, and meta builds. Now, I will say, though, at the same time, people are expressing this concern. I really don't think it's an actual issue, because Fextra Life in particular, in my eyes, is way closer to traditional games media than he is to the hardcore AR.
I don't care about Fextra Life all that much, honestly. They can burn in hell. They can, I don't know, go to heaven if they want. Fextra Life is just not something that I'm interested in at this moment in time. But anyway, Path of Exile 2. What a great time to be alive. It's gonna become big. It's gonna become one of the biggest things. Diablo 4 doesn't exist any longer, obviously. Last Epoch will need to do a lot to actually, try and fight Path of Exile 2. Even though people are still gonna rotate between the new releases, between new leagues and whatnot. Is Path of Exile 2 calling it leagues, seasons, or whatever they're gonna call it? They're probably gonna call it leagues. Well, in any case, 10 out of 10. That was Forge Gaming. 10 out of 10. Bye.